Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our Lake Washington School District Levy Town Hall event. Tonight, I'm excited to share with you information about the 3 levy measures that we'll have on the ballot on February 8th. My name is John Holman, Superintendent here in Lake Washington. I have a slide deck that I want to share with you, and then after that slideshow, I do want to see if you have any questions. You'll be able to ask your questions, I believe, in the chat feature. My team will send those to me and we'll be able to do some Q&A virtually. So with that, why don't we go ahead and transition to the presentation so that I can share that information with you and then take your questions. So again, I am excited to be here tonight to share this information with you. Lake Washington has 3 levies on the February 8th ballot. For us, these levies are critical to support student success and excellence for every one of our students across the district. When we think about our work, it's about addressing the needs of absolutely every student in our school district. Our mission and our vision are all focused on students and student success. Our mission of graduating students, but not just graduating, our vision is about graduating students to be future ready, prepared for college, the global workplace, and personal success. As a school district, we are a large system. We're actually the 2nd largest school district in the state of Washington. We have 57 schools where we're supporting students, and on average, our students graduate within 4 years at a rate of 94%. When we think about some of the excellence that really is Lake Washington School District, one of the first things that I think of is our partnership with our community. We have a long history of our community supporting us through fiscal means. We have over 10,000 approved volunteers that while they're not in the schools as much as we want them to be, we know that when we're able to bring in our volunteers, they will be ready and prepared to support our students. And when we think about the ongoing efforts of our school district, we continue to hear from our Lake Washington families and community members high levels of satisfaction with what their students are experiencing in our schools. I'd be remiss if I didn't pause and just recognize the experience of our school district, our families, our staff, but really our students in their learning over the last 3 years as we've responded to this pandemic. Here you can see on the slide, just broken out by school year. This is our 3rd year of responding to the pandemic and really having to accommodate for the requirements from public health, the state, the governor's office, and really trying to find excellence for our students. You can see in 2019, 2020, when that first COVID case did come to the United States, we had to respond to that. We closed our schools, attempted remote learning, but we knew that that next year, if we moved into remote learning, it had to be much more robust for our students. Adopting classroom teams, starting the school year with a majority of students in that remote space. Our teachers learned along with our students in that environment. You can see there implementing Microsoft Teams, ensuring that we had one-to-one computers for all of our students, which was a heavy lift by our technology operations team. We were actually the first school district in the Puget Sound region to offer in-person learning for some of our highest need students and our preschool students. And then in the spring, we actually offered the most in-person learning of any district in the Puget Sound region. That was through partnerships with our staff, our community, our families, to ensure that we did meet that excellence for our students. And then in the 21-22 school year, the school year we're experiencing right now, the majority of students did start the school year in-person learning. We opened an online school that over 1,200 students selected to participate in. We're continuing to manage the public health requirements, managing staffing shortages as we speak, and continuing to provide excellence in experiences for our students. Another piece that we're proud of and that we like to talk about is the stewardship of our fiscal resources. And one thing that we like to point to is what's called the Meritorious Budget Award. Our school district has been awarded this 4 years running. It really is about awarding a commitment to sound fiscal management, transparency and communication around our fiscal responsibility, and connecting our resources with our strategic planning. We consistently receive clean audits on an annual basis from the state, And one thing that is really important is we work to save our local community and taxpayers dollars at any time we can. And so you can see there, we actually over the last 6 years have saved taxpayers over $43 million by refinancing outstanding bonds. As we think about these fiscal measures that I'm talking about tonight, we also think about our core values, because everything we do is linked back to our values, our mission, our vision, and our goals for students. And so you can see here, our values focus on students, they focus on learning, connections, and results. And as we work to support the well-being, the social emotional well-being of our students, it's all about them being able to access their learning while we have excellence in our partnerships and connections, and while we ensure that we're transparent in our school funding. The three specific measures that I'm talking about tonight: first is the renewal of our Educational Programs and Operations Levy. Second, the renewal of our School Technology and Capital Projects Levy. And third, our Building Excellence Construction Levy. And the EPNO truly does fill the gap between state funding and what our students need for their academic and educational programs. The School Technology and Facilities Levy allows us to maintain our investment in both our technology and facilities that are supporting students. And finally, the Building Excellence Construction Levy, that's going to add critical classroom space for our students. I first want to talk about the renewal of the Educational Programs and Operations Levy. So why do we need this? The EPNO levy is a replacement of the 2018 levy, which does expire at the end of 2022. And what does it provide? It provides funding for important programs and operations that are not funded or are underfunded by the state. The state does provide funding for basic education, but it doesn't fully fund what our students need and what our community expects for our students. The Educational Programs and Operations Levy actually funds 14% of the district's overall budget, things like school staffing, student opportunities, and early learning programs. And when we think about our staffing piece, this levy does fund essential staff that are not fully funded by the state, while also ensuring that we can offer programs and services to our students in need, while always considering how are we providing supports and excellence for each of our students. We also know that this levy allows our staff to access the training that they need to be able to support our students. In thinking about opportunities for students, the EPNO does ensure that students have opportunities for additional learning, but also to participate in activities such as music, the arts, and athletics. We know these opportunities connect our students to their school community and actually lead to higher levels of success. And finally, this levy provides funding for our early learning programs. It's through inclusive settings for our students from all developmental backgrounds participating in learning as they work to develop kindergarten-ready skills. But that isn't what our early learning program is about. Our early learning program is truly about helping students on that pathway and that trajectory to be future ready and graduates of Lake Washington School District. So I want to talk a little bit about where does the funding go from the Educational Programs and Operations Levy, and how is it that it's filling the gap between state funding and district need. And so you can see here a number of key critical programs here in the district. The Educational Programs and Operations Levy funds 71% of our school nurses, 33% of our counselors and mental health supports. It funds 32% of our overall special education budget. And for our special education program, that's funding of $21 million a year that is part of identified as basic education, yet our local levy dollars are covering and bridging that gap between state funding and what our students need for their academic programs. The EPNO levy does fund 71% of our gifted and talented programs and 100% of the athletics and extracurricular activities that we know are so important to connect our students to their schools and those opportunities. I want to talk about the second measure that I mentioned, the renewal of our School Technology and Capital Projects Levy. Why is this important? This technology and capital projects levy, again, is a replacement of the 4-year 2018 levy, which does expire at the end of 2022. What does it provide? It provides funding for district technology and facility upgrades and maintenance. And on this, it's important to note that this levy actually provides 90% of the funding that the district requires for both our technology and facility upgrades. This levy does ensure that students have access to what we describe as 21st century skills. Technology plays a key role as students are preparing to be ready for the global workplace. And this levy also provides technology for students and staff, as well as the required training for our teachers as they work to implement the technology tools in the classroom. Our technology systems have to accommodate the work of teaching students, but it's also about running a large business. Lake Washington School District employs over 4,500 people to serve students across our 57 schools and centrally to run the business of the district. This requires a robust infrastructure and business technology systems in support of all of our staff working to meet our core mission of educating students. And finally, this levy does also maintain our investments in our schools and provides required facility upgrades and improvements. Here to the left, you can see this image shows you an example of a roof replacement and HVAC equipment at Kirkland Middle School that was recently updated and maintained. This levy also provides for the required health and safety updates at our buildings, such as when codes change and we need to update our facilities to ensure that our students are learning in schools that are healthy, safe, and up to code. And finally, our third measure is the Building Excellence Capital Construction Levy, which will fund school construction here in Lake Washington. Why is this important? This Building Excellence Construction Levy replaces expiring bonds and provides funding for critical construction projects to make sure our students actually have room to learn. What is it? It provides funding for student classroom space at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, but it also sets dollars aside for the acquisition of property. I'd like to thank our Facility Advisory Committee for the work that they've conducted over the last 12 to 14 months, analyzing our current situation, reviewing and analyzing data, and making recommendations regarding the future facility needs of all communities across the school district. So I want to start by just talking a little bit about the data about Lake Washington School District. Since 2008, Lake Washington School District has grown by over 7,300 students. And if you think about, just to benchmark this, an average school, elementary school size of 550, you can see that's a lot of schools worth of students that have been added since 2008. But we also know we are a growing community, one of the fastest growing communities in the state and the fastest growing school district in King County. The district is projected to grow by over 3,500 students in just the next 8 years. So as you can imagine, with our current school setup, over 83% of our schools will be over capacity by 2030 within that 8-year window. And what does it mean to be over capacity? It means that we have reduced opportunities for students to learn in spaces that we've deemed as required. Small group settings, whole group settings. We know that it takes a variety of different types of spaces to educate students. And with this, we know that we're on a trajectory to need additional space. So to be specific, what will this levy fund? This will fund critical classroom space for over 2,300 students across our district. At the elementary level, students in Redmond, this will add 24 classrooms for about 550 students. It will be located on the Redmond Elementary campus in a space that really is unused property right now. At the middle school level, we've identified 3 locations across our school district that are at a critical point in needing classroom space, knowing that all of our middle schools are continuing to grow. Those schools are Finn Hill, Kirkland, and Redmond middle schools, and this will provide space for over 600 students. And at the high school level, our high schools are continuing to grow all across our district, and this levy will fund space for over 1,200 students What we are working through right now is identifying location and design, which will be determined, but we know that we need space in all areas of our district at the high school level. And finally, this levy will provide for the acquisition of property for future schools. And again, in that spirit of transparency, we want to provide some additional information around the costs associated with these three measures. It's important to note that the funding approved by voters in Lake Washington School District stays in our community. That's different from other school funding pieces at the state level, but for us, these dollars directly benefit students in Lake Washington School District. And so one of the things we have always worked towards is to be cognizant and pay attention to the overall tax rate. And so with these, we continue to maintain a stable tax rate, knowing that over time, tax rate will fluctuate slightly up or slightly down. But what we work towards is to develop funding measures that allow for a level of stability for our community. On this slide, you can see three different measures, with that third measure being called total construction. So it should be noted that the total construction rate of $1.32 does include the previously approved measures. And as we pay off old bonds, we're able to bring in new construction measures at what I've stated is a stable rate. So the Building Excellence Levy will have a rate of 52 cents per thousand of assessed value. You can see here the total combined rate would be about $2.84 compared to our current rate, which is $2.57 per thousand of assessed value. And talking about actual dollars and cents, as we look at the current tax rate in identifying a home worth $1 million or valued at $1 million, currently that homeowner pays $2,570. With these three measures on the February 8th ballot, the new total would be $2,840. Another activity that we go through is looking at our neighbors to really just benchmark and understand what are the tax rates that our local neighbors are being asked to pay. And so it's really that comparison. And as you can see, for those districts that touch our boundary, Lake Washington actually has the lowest tax rate amongst those districts. It's also important to know that districts only collect a set dollar amount for levies. And as our community grows, that these costs actually are spread out among more property owners as we grow and businesses as they come on board. So I just want to thank you for joining us again tonight. We're so proud of the work that's occurring in our school district through these very challenging times. And I hope that you will take the time. Remember to vote by February 8th. And I'm going to go ahead and transition to the question and answer portion of our town hall tonight. And so I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen. Go ahead and check. My team is passing along questions to me, so let me go ahead and get set up here. All right. And so one question that's been asked is, how did the district determine how much to ask for in these funding measures? And so this is a long process that we work with our board of directors, holding sessions with them, providing information. They do an excellent job of ensuring that we're truly analyzing all three of these different levy measures. And so we go through a process assessing the overall needs of our academic programs, our student programs, our staffing, our construction needs, reviewing projections of state funding, and then work with our bond and levy advisory committee as they make recommendations that we bring to our school board. This advisory committee, again, included parents, community members, city staff, and the long-term facility representatives. So the school board ultimately, after about a 6-month process, did vote to approve these three measures to be put forward. the next question that my team is putting forward is, how are facility projects selected to be funded by the capital projects levy? And this is an excellent question and really talks to the long-term considerations that we made as we were thinking about which projects do we want to put forward right now. Because we know with the growth that's occurred since 2008, with our projected growth, knowing that we actually have additional facility needs today, the Building Excellence Levy really is part of a longer-term funding, but also construction plan. But right now, this Building Excellence Levy is about critical space needs across the district. And so when we look at our data, when we look at places where we know that students are going to need additional classrooms because of rapid growth, that's really how we're targeting these dollars. And so it's really the downtown area of Redmond at the elementary level, those 3 specific places that we identified at the middle school level, Kirkland, Finn Hill, and Redmond. And then knowing that Eastlake High School, Redmond High School, Lake Washington High School are rapidly growing with both Redmond and Eastlake over 2,000 students, we do need to provide some capacity for students in those areas. And so that's what these dollars are targeting. So really, this Building Excellence Levy is about targeting critical needs right now. Okay, so what will happen if the measures do not pass? You know, that's a question that's asked. I've participated in informational campaigns for years around this, and that is always a question that is asked. And one of the things that we talk about is we always want to think about the positives because our community has been so supportive, but we actually do have to think about if these don't pass, what would that mean? And so when you think about a reduction of our overall budget by 14%, it's not as simple as just saying we're going to do a 14% across the board cut in all programs, because there are actually required programs that are educational programs and operations levy funds. And so we would have to go through a process analyzing staffing levels, analyzing programs, analyzing our full budget to really understand how would we go about reducing our budget in that manner. And so that's an activity that we would engage our community with, engage our staff with, knowing that that would be a substantial reduction and significant impact on the programs and services to students in Lake Washington. When we think about the technology and capital projects levy, knowing that 90% of the funds required for those 2 programs comes from our technology and capital projects levy, again, it would be one of those situations where trying to analyze that overall budget and think about how we make those reductions, again, would be a process that we need to engage with, but it essentially would put a halt to our overall technology program, put a significant halt to our facilities upgrades program, knowing that we would have to target dollars towards those really required places. And when we think about the Building Excellence Levy, this is about critical space for students and things that we've had to do in the past, such as boundary adjustments, shifting smaller groups of students than what we know is desired to neighboring schools, adding portables. These are all things that we've had to do in the past. And so, but right now we're thinking about, you know, in a positive manner, knowing that our community does support excellence for all students in this school district. There's a note on here that folks may be having a hard time putting questions in the chat. If that's still occurring, please let me know. Okay. So I guess my team wants me to read this this off. You know, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to go ahead and on the fly adjust my presentation. And Colin, if you want to share this Why don't we go ahead and share this slide so that people can use this link. There you go, Colin. So you can just share that, and I'll just go ahead and continue taking questions. All right. So I'm going to give a brief answer about this one, and then I'm going to ask Associate Superintendent Barbara Posthumus to come and provide any additional information about this. So the question is, does the district collect more money when property values rise? And so the short answer is no, because the district is only allowed to collect a set dollar amount. But I'm going to let Associate Superintendent Posthumus provide some additional information, because I think there's some more information that can help provide a greater understanding of that answer.
I don't know if they can they see me? Hi, I'm Barbara Posthumus, Associate Superintendent of Business and Support Services. It's nice to talk to everyone tonight. And so, yeah, just want to remind people that as Dr. Holman said, when the district, when there's levies, the district only collects a set amount. And so as more property owners come into the district, as more commercial businesses come into the district, those dollars are spread amongst more taxpayers. And so it actually creates a lower tax rate. And then, and then if your individual property taxes rise because we're only collecting a certain amount, then actually everybody's rates decrease, the rate per thousand decrease because property values are rising. So just again, we have a video on our website that I know is down right now, but we hope to have it up by tomorrow. There is a video that kind of explains how property taxes work. And so if you want to learn more, you can watch that video or again, ask additional questions.
Thank you, Barbara. And from what I'm seeing, I don't know if we're seeing any additional questions at this point. I just want to reiterate a couple of things here. What we know is that ballots are due on February 8th, and in the state of Washington, it's either mailing your ballot in, dropping it off at a local drop site, and that is by February 8th. We're proud of the work that's occurring here in the district, and we just thank you for spending some time with us so that we could share information about these levies. So when our website is back up and running, please visit that. It has additional information. If you have any questions, there's a link on our levy page where you can submit a question, because we want to get any of your questions answered, because it's important for us that our community is fully informed. With that, I'm going to say thank you. Have a wonderful evening and take care. Appreciate it.